Hi folks, it's Pete back with another video on this Sunday morning on the west coast. This is going to be another number 4 I think in showing what I've been listening to, old and new, over the last week. Last time I attempted to do some needle drops. Now they went pretty well, I think. They resulted in a few copyright claims, but no strikes. But it did end up with getting banned in 4 countries. That was Cuba, Syria, Iran, and North Korea. Now, I don't know how many viewers I've got from there. Probably none. But it seemed to be quite popular, so I think I'll continue to try that as long as I can. Maybe not for every video. Anyway, let's get started. The last one was a long one, so I'm going to try and show less this time. First off, something that arrived yesterday, which I haven't had a chance to listen to yet, but I wanted to show, and that's the new Neil Young Archive collection. Way down in the rust bucket. This is the deluxe edition, 4 LP set. Each album in an individual sleeve. There you go. Sorry about the glare, I haven't taken the shrink wrap off these yet. It comes just with a sheet with the band crew, tour personnel, etc. You get a CD with it of the gig. And a DVD. Now this, by all accounts, this is a superb live album by the band. It was recorded in November 30th, 1990, I think, at in Santa Cruz. Like I said, by all accounts, it's superb. The only problem I have with this set is mainly, one, it could have had more than just this inside, which doesn't even name the members of the band, though I suppose we all know who they are. But the other thing is, I just hate these out of focus photos. Proper band photos, live photos, would have been far better. And it doesn't even have the track listing on each individual album. You've got to go to the back of the box to find out what tracks are on there. But apart from that, superb stuff. Anyway, let's get on with what I've been listening to. And first off is Al Stewart, the great, well, to my mind, great British singer-songwriter of the late 60s and 70s. This is his first album, Bedsitter Images, released in 1967. Now, while he's sort of autobiographical and observational writing style was in place at this point, right at the start, he wasn't doing any of those great historical epics that he then would go on to do. this is a good album. It's let down, unfortunately, by the fact that in fact, I think all bar one of the tracks have orchestration on them. Now, that sort of folk baroque thing works for some artists, but in this case it didn't, because the orchestration is a little bit twee, bit mundane. It would have worked far better with just the standard folk rock backing, or just him on his own. The best track is the last track, Balika Doodle Day. It's quite a lengthy track, and that is without the orchestra, but good stuff anyway.
I had a week once in Italy with Mike and Robin and some songs. I had a girl once in Sweden, but I haven't seen her for too long. I drifted down to the cousin's side. The usual people were all there. I saw a girl in some red light. I smiled, but she looked away. On my belief, it was
Next up is one I got in a sale online, and I didn't know, the 49th Parallel. They were a Canadian band out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and this was, I think, released in 1969. They'd had a hit single with a track called Twilight Woman. This is a really fun album. This covers all the bases for me of that period. You get garage rock with heavy fuzz guitar. You get more baroque pop, psych pop. You get a track like, I can't remember which one it is now, but sounds like it could have been done by the Monkees. And the final track on side one, Lazaranda Filci, sounds like it could have been done by The Move. It sounds like them. But this is, like I say, I was really pleased to get this, and it was far better than I expected.
get away from me, girl, just as fast as you can. You had your chance, go find yourself another man. Get away from me, girl, I don't need your kind around. All you ever did, woman, is talk and put me down. Get away, get away. Said get away before you get me down.
Next up, a more modern band. This is 111 Heavy, with I think their second album, Desire Path. Now, I hadn't heard of these before. This was in the same sale as the 49th Parallel. They're a four-piece, but the main guys are an American, James Toth, who was in a band called Wooden Wand, and the other main guy is Englishman, Nick Mitchell-Mayato, who I should have recognised the name, because he was in a band that I've got just about most of their albums from Manchester, psych rockers Desmond Desmedrados Soldados de Ventura. Not an easy name to say, but it seems these two guys bonded over their love of Crazy Horse, The Dead, Little Feat, All the Almonds, and this is very much in that sort of vein, with, you know, the same sort of harmonies, twin guitars. It is really good. I shouldn't be surprised with it sounding very much like The Dead, because the last album that Desmedrados did, a 4 LP set, was very Deadish in style. You even get a bit of sort of that Exile on Main Street sort of Stones vibe on one or two of the tracks. This is well worth having. I'll be probably checking out their other albums if they're as good as this. Nice one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Next up, an album pulled from the vault, featuring one of my favourite artists of all time, Richard Thompson. And this is French, Frith, Kaiser and Thompson, a super group if there ever was one. This obviously features John French of Captain Beefheart and Magic Band fame on drums, Fred Frith of Henry Cow. On here he plays bass and violin rather than lead guitar. Henry Kaiser, the great sort of experimental guitarist, and then the god himself, Richard Thompson, on guitar and vocals. This is they did 2 albums. This is the first one. It was released in 1987. It's on Rhino, Demon Records, actually, over here. Now, I think what Thompson once said about this was that he once joked that if his presence on an album with John French, Fred Frith and Henry Kaiser was expected to help it to appeal to a wider audience, it didn't say much for the stage of their careers, because Thompson wasn't exactly a big seller. But this is excellent. It's got some fairly out there stuff, but I think Richard Thompson's brand of guitar and folk rock songs sort of had that sort of normality, but lyrically, you know what you're going to get with Thompson. Nothing normal about any of his lyrics. So this does lead towards the avant-garde in places. The best tracks are the Thompson ones. There's a great one called Drowned Dog Black Night, which is superb. But they also do a fun version of the Beach Boys' Surfing USA. I've got the second album on CD, but I'd love to try and get it on vinyl. Excellent.
I ride with the Kilimanjaro, I see every road from the rich and we give to the poor, and the poor are we, and the poor are we, and we ask that poor and we want some more. And it's just another day. We steal your watches and we steal your rings, and we steal your money and we steal your gold, and we ride on a train like old Jesse James in the days of old, in the days of old. And We are children, please don't take our freedom away.
Next up, we go to a new album, again, one I got in a sale, and this is the Dutch band Avalanche and their album Perseverance Kills Our Game. Now they're a prog psych folk rock band from the Netherlands from the 1970s. This is their only album, which came out in 1979. This has been described as like Fairport playing with Asherah Temple, but that's not the way. I mean, it's 90% instrumental, more laid back, that doesn't really rock in, apart from the last track, Oblivion, the 11-minute track. That's where the sort of Asherah Temple meets Fairport comes in. It reminds me of, in places, because of the bombard that's played in one or two tracks, of a bit of the Alan Stivell stuff at the time with Dan Arbroath on guitar. It's a really nice album, well worth checking out if you like your sort of folk, you know, prog folk, let's say. Nice one. Finally, I'll show 3 albums together that are all from the same label, and I just had to get these. The inspiration behind me buying these was John, Mr. Baggy Hi-Fi. He showed the first of these albums, Bellbury Polly, The Gone Away, on one of his recent videos. And these are on the Ghost Box label. The other 2 I got were the Advisory Circle with their album From Out There, and Shanktonbury Rings by Justin Hopper, Sharon Krause with the Bellbury Polly. Now, the Ghost Box label is sort of very much associated with that whole hauntology scene, which is like a loose category of music that draws on British cultural influences, post-war, including library music and film and TV soundtracks, Psych, and the public information films. It's all that as well. It's sort of that folk horror as well gets drawn in there with films like The Wicker Man and Witchfinder General, etc. The Bellbury Polly is sorry, got the wrong one there. Bellbury Polly. That's just one guy. It's the founder of Ghostbox, Jim Jupp, and this is sort of electronic music, again with a folk and Kosmischer sort of vibe to it. but very much in that, with that hauntology sort of theme running through it. The Advisory Circle is one of these inspired by library music and British public information films at the time. And that's by a guy called John Brooks. And the third one, Chanctonbury Rings, is a collaboration between Justin Hopper, who's an American writer who wrote a book called The Old Weird Albion, and the British folk artist Sharon Krause, who wrote all the music. Justin Hopper wrote the text, because all the texts from here are taken, I think, from his book. So it's as it says here, it's a journey in poetry, prose, music, and song. And then you have help from the Belbury Polly or Jim Jupp on with some of the music. And this is, like I say, it's a blend of folk, electronic music, poetry, prose, and environmental sounds. Excellent stuff.
My eyes are doors. The moon walks through them.
Chanctonbury, Changebury, Shankberry, Chanctonbury, Chankleberry, Changebury, Shankbury, Chanctonbury, Chankleberry, Changebury, Chankberry, Chanctonbury. Once, the trees were thick enough to harbor darkness at midday. But the trees were latecomers, mere centuries ago. The hill's name, whatever strange sound that was, rang out like a bell in the mist for thousands of years before they grew. Long before anything like English was spoken there.
So there you go. That's what I've been listening to this week. I'll try and put in some. I hope the needle drops come out. Hope everybody's okay, staying well. Take care, and I hope to see you all soon.